Hello everyone, this is Bhavana Das, Assistant Professor from the Department of Zoology, Dudhnoi College. As a part of the skill enhancement course, we have started the apiculture, and in this particular video lecture, we shall study about artificial beekeeping, beehives and pasturage. So let's get started. Artificial bee rearing. So what is artificial bee rearing? It is the methods which encompasses about all the controlled practices for managing a honeybee colony. This is also to bypass the state of going and searching for the naturally available bees, because that won't be most favorable to set up an economy out of it, to set up a business or create an economy out of it. Rather, if we uh, take up or if we adopt few steps and set up our own artificial bee rearing site or an apiary, that would help to establish a more sound economy. And it's all about artificial bee rearing that we are going to learn. So what this approach helps us, it allows the beekeepers to manage the colonies more productively as compared to that of the traditional methods. And apiary, what is an apiary? It is simply the location where the bee colonies are kept in man-made hives, forming the foundation of modern commercial honey production. The artificial beehives are set up, or the rearing methods are of three types. First of all, the artificial queen rearing, like raising new queens from the young larvae using grafting techniques. Beekeepers transfer 1 day old worker larvae into the special queen cell cups in queenless colonies. Then artificial insemination, specialized breeding process using collected sperms from selected drones to inseminate the virgin queens, providing complete genetic control over colonies. Now, why these two steps are important? First of all, in the first rearing of artificial queen, the beekeepers are not depending upon how many queens will or when the queens will be produced, which shall thereafter produce the honey. They are producing their own queens there to thereafter to produce the honey in time, which will be suitable for their business. And insemination, why artificial insemination is important? Now this a few drones are selected which are presumed scientifically or genetically that these will have a good quality of sperms and shall inseminate the virgin queens better. This is done to ensure that a good amount of honey or good quality of honey is later on produced. Then supplemental feeding, providing sugar syrup and pollen substitutes during scarcity periods to ensure the colony survives and remains strong even during the tough times of the year. Then how to set up the research apiary, like site selection, very important. We have to choose the location very carefully. First of all, we have to select a dry location with adequate sunlight, wind, a shelter, reliable bee forage, making sure that they don't go through scarcity of food or energy, and clean water sources nearby. Then setting up of or installing the movable frame Langstroth hives, the traditional artificial beehive, with proper spacing like 1 to 2 meters apart on elevated stands for protection. Safety preparation. The beekeepers will are always risking their lives while rearing bees. So a full bee suit, then smoker for calming down the bees, and the hive tool for inspections and maintenance is very essential. At last, colony acquisition, which start with the nucleus colonies, like from the local beekeepers. They will take you through the already existing natural beehives. From there, we will get an established colonies, including the brood and functioning key. This is very essential for the preliminary days to set up an apiary. So there are different types of apiaries in modern beekeeping. The first of all, the stationary, that is permanently located near abundant forage sources like gardens or forests, and these are ideal for consistent honey production. Then we have one migratory apiary, like they are moved seasonally to follow blooming crops and maximizing the nectar collection and supporting commercial pollination services. The third is the urban apiary. Urban apiaries are located on the rooftops or community gardens, promoting local beekeeping and environmental awareness in cities. So this is done as a community service or community in a local area, the neighbors do it. Then research apiary, which are maintained by institutes for the students for experimentation and scientific study of the bee behavior. So, we have been mentioning about the Langstroth beehive. So, what is it? It was invented by Reverend Lorenzo Langstroth in 1852. This design revolutionized beekeeping through the discovery of bee space. A precise 3 to 8 inch gap was kept that the bees won't fill with comb. So the key components of this artificial beehive is a bottom board with an entrance reducer, a brood box for queen and larva, then honey suppers for surplus storage, movable frames with foundation and inner and outer protective covers. But in India, especially in Kerala, a new type of beehive was developed by Father Newton, that was known as the Newton hive. So this was specifically done for the native Apis cerana. This smaller hive design was addresses the unique needs for the Indian honeybees. The Langston was designed mainly for the European honeybees. For the Indian honeybees, the Newton hive was designed. This is more species specific design, like they are perfectly called for smaller A serena colonies, maintaining a proper bee space for optimal colony health. So and manageable size. These are lighter components, make handling easier for small scale beekeepers, especially in rural settings. Now we move on to bee pasturage. So what is bee pasturage? Bee pasturage encompasses all the flora, providing the essential resources for honeybee survival and productivity. So three components: nectar, pollen, and propolis. Nectar is a sweet liquid from the flower nectaries. These are converted to honey for energy storage and colony survival during the dearth periods. Pollen, these are protein rich male reproductive cells which are essential for brood development and young bee growth. These are stored as the bee bread. Then we have the propolis. Right, resinous material from the tree buds. These are used as the antimicrobial bee glue to seal their hive cracks and sterilize the environment. So how to maintain or manage the bee pasturage for success? First, we have the plant diverse flora. Like we have to establish native flowering plants that bloom throughout the season, ensuring continuous nectar and pollen sources from spring to autumn. Implement intercropping. Why intercropping? We have to integrate the bee friendly crops like the buckwheat and the phacelia between the main crops, benefiting both agricultural yields and bee nutrition. Then we have to practice the sustainable methods like the minimize harmful pesticides and preserve the natural habitats and provide clean water sources and the bee for the bee health and productivity. So what are the research opportunities? Apiaries offer invaluable hands-on learning for zoology, entomology, or agriculture students as well. Like we can monitor colony health and track management strategies. We can observe bee behavior, communication, and social organization, and also study pollination impacts on crop yields and other plant diversity, and conduct genetics research using controlled breeding techniques. So this was a brief lecture on how to so what is artificial beekeeping, how to conduct or how to construct one apiary. Then what there are two types of beehives, that is the Newton and the Langstroth beehive, and which is favorable for what kind of bees. And at lastly, we studied about bee pasturage and why it is important, and the three components: nectar, pollen, and propolis. At last, we also discussed a few research opportunities which will help the students to uh, which will help the students in future perspectives of their lives and career in context of learning about apiculture. So thank you so much.